watching Bengals Breakdown by Chat Sports, and I am your host, Stone Shields. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about some free agents that are still out there and could be potential targets for the Cincinnati Bengals. As we know, Cincinnati was relatively busy early in the week with some re-signings and signings, but as the week has progressed, Cincinnati has kind of done what they typically do in the past. Sat back, haven't done a ton. There's still plenty of cap space available for them to be active if they so desire, and there's still holes all over this roster that they can fill here through free agency. Still plenty of guys that could come in and make an impact for this football team in 2025. The question is, will Cincinnati go out there and hunt for the help, or again, will they sit back and not do much? Just an FYI here, we are filming this video here on a Thursday afternoon about 4:30. It's going to go out here around Friday morning. Free agency obviously is very fluid. If any of these names go off the board by the time this video goes out, we will do our best to edit them out. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that front. Before we get into today's show, though, make sure you guys share today's video for me on social media if you have not done so already. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, it works for us. Just trying to get the word out there to more Bengals fans that aren't necessarily tapped into what we're doing here at Bengals Breakdown. Boston said, got to get our shares numbers up here in the month of March. So help me out, share today's video for me right now. All right, we'll start with the offensive line. Let's take a look here at what the offensive line depth chart looks like for the Cincinnati Bengals. You feel really good at center with Ted Karras. You feel really good at your starting tackles with Orlando Brown Jr. and Amarius Mims. Then you get your guard play, and you don't feel really good whatsoever. Cody Ford, obviously, coming back on a 2-year deal for the Cincinnati Bengals. Not looking for him to be a starter, but if he's your sixth offensive lineman, that is totally okay. Need to go in there and get another guard. Obviously, Alex Kappa, who's been your starter at right guard the past few years, is now a Las Vegas Raider. So let's start here with Brandon Scherff. He is a guy that I am probably the most excited about out of any one of these guys that we are going to talk about here on today's show. I've been saying for a long time that Cincinnati needs to go after Brandon Scherff and sign him. He was the number 5 overall pick in 2015. He's the only guard in the last 50 drafts to go top 5. 140 starts over his 10-year career, really is an Ironman, really is durable, and that should certainly be intriguing for the Cincinnati Bengals. Hasn't really been a part of winning in his career. Spent his first 7 years with the Washington Commanders. Obviously was the Washington football team at one point there as well. 3 years in Jacksonville, is a 5-time Pro Bowler, is 33 years old, so that probably would have been a turnoff for Cincinnati in recent years, but Cincinnati kind of has switched the way they've operated here over the past couple of seasons with B.J. Hill getting re-signed. He will be 30 years of age soon, and Olsen Burks as well at that linebacker position, Oren Burks, at that linebacker position for Cincinnati, also around that 30 years of age mark. But he's top 10 pass blocking guard by PFF in 2024. That certainly should light up your eyes if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, right? That's the number one thing you are looking for, a guy at that guard spot that can go out there and protect your quarterback in Joe Burrow. Scherff certainly could do that. Does he fall in the ring chaser category? Yeah, probably, but that is totally fine. I'm looking to sign him to a 1-year deal and really get some stability there along the interior of your offensive line. Next up here is Teven Jenkins. This is a guy that has been linked to the Cincinnati Bengals a lot in the past. If you remember, in 2021, the Bengals traded pick 38 and 46 for 2 fourth-rounders, and the Bears took Jenkins at 39. The Bengals took Jackson Carman at 46, as well as Tyler Shelvin and Deontay Smith with their other picks. So that kind of blew up in their face. Teven Jenkins very well could be a Cincinnati Bengal already at this point. He was PFF 15 best guard pass protection-wise. Certainly intriguing there, but does have significant injury concerns. He's battled hip issues, ankle issues, calf, concussions, and missed a ton of games really throughout his career. So obviously that is a red flag there if you are the Cincinnati Bengals, but don't be surprised if Cincinnati goes after Teven Jenkins. Will Hernandez, next up here on this list. Will Hernandez is widely regarded as a really good guard in this league. What's the issue? Well, he's coming off a torn ACL, as you can see there with that graphic. Only 280 snaps this past season for Will Hernandez. Mekhi Becton, next up here, a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. He really rejuvenated his career this past year as he moved towards the interior of the offensive line, getting to play under Jeff Stoutland, probably the best offensive line coach in the National Football League. If you remember, he had a visit with Cincinnati last offseason. Ultimately, that did not culminate into a deal for Becton, and the Bengals signed a one-year prove-it deal, made the switch to guard, and boy, did that really work out for him. Former first-round pick in 2020, knee injury caused him to miss 16 games in 2021 and all of 2022, so kind of a slow start to his career from that perspective, but this past season in Philadelphia, man, did he play really well, and help them on their way to winning the Super Bowl. Leads to the pinned comment of today's video. Name a player you want to sign. Obviously, we just talked about offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman there, but it could be any position, any guy that you want. Let me know in the comment section. Name a player you want to sign. All right, here is the Bengals defensive end depth chart, updated after Sam Hubbard's retirement and Joseph Ossai getting extended by the Cincinnati Bengals, 1 year, $7 million contract for Ossai. I think all of us sitting here want to know why the Bengals haven't made a move to get somebody else into that defensive end spot and provide another pass rusher for this Bengals defense. Let's break down some names. First up here is Von Miller. Von Miller is a guy that is going to be a future Hall of Famer, no doubt about that. Was a Super Bowl MVP at one point in his career. A lot of intrigue with Von Miller. Has kind of bounced around a little bit, but has played with Buffalo over the past couple of seasons. Of course, helped win a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams, defeating the Cincinnati Bengals, unfortunately. But I still think he has a lot to give. I think so many teams should be interested in Von Miller and bringing him into their organization, and I 100% think Cincinnati should be up there as well. Really interested in Von Miller. Azeez Ojulari next here for the New York Football Giants. We spent a lot of time talking about Ojulari around the trade deadline, saying that Cincinnati should try to go after a guy like Azeez Ojulari. In fact, New York wanted to end up keeping him, and it really worked out for him as he was able to finish the season pretty strong, but did get kind of hurt there at the end of the season, which is probably why he hasn't been signed yet to this point. But Azeez Ojulari, another name to monitor if you are the Bengals. Za'Darius Smith, a guy that really I am intrigued by. He was another guy that we talked about at the trade deadline for the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, he then was with the Cleveland Browns. Probably weren't going to see a trade within the division, but then he goes to Detroit, finishes out the season there with them. He's obviously older, but I think he could come in on a one-year deal and really create some havoc. Boy, him next to Trey Hendrickson, I think that really could turn around what you're doing from a pass rush perspective. Just up to Cincinnati to go out there and actually do something about it. Matt Judon here, most recently playing with the Atlanta Falcons, was with New England previously. He's a guy that's really versatile. I think he can rush the passer. I think he can drop back in coverage as well. Matt Judon is another really, really good football player that is yet to sign with a football team and could really do a lot for Al Golden's defense. Preston Smith, yet another guy that we talked about during the trade deadline, was with the Green Bay Packers before finishing the season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is he as good as some of the other guys we've talked about? Yeah, maybe not. But he's a guy that can rush the passer a little bit, and I think he certainly could help out Cincinnati in that regard. Emmanuel Ogbah here of the Miami Dolphins, another guy that is getting up there a little bit in age, but he's been able to create an impact. I thought he had a solid season in 2024 after not doing a ton the previous seasons before that. Emmanuel Ogbah, another guy to monitor if you are the Cincinnati Bengals. Really, any of the guys we just rattled off makes this defense better immediately. Just up to Duke Tobin and company to actually make something happen. We will continue with our free agent list here in a minute, but first, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. Let you guys know that Bengals Sideline hats are out. They're available right now. Chatsports.com/Bengals Sideline. I've got a few of these myself. Really cool hats there over at Fanatics. Not just hats, too. They've got all kinds of stuff, hoodies, quarter zips, you name it. Bunch of Cincinnati Bengals gear over there. Get you some Cincinnati Bengals swag, courtesy of our friends over at Fanatics. They truly do have the best deals possible. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's video, chatsports.com/Bengals Sideline. All right, let's talk corner here. This is what Cincinnati is working with at this point. As of filming, Mike Hilton hasn't gone anywhere yet at this point, so still have him up on the depth chart. Obviously, Dax Hill, DJ Turner dealing with injuries at this point, but I really think Cincinnati corner was a real weakness for this football team, and they have yet to address it other than the re-signing of Marco Wilson. Let's talk Stephon Gilmore here. He has really become a journeyman after all the great years he had in Buffalo and New England, but he's still playing at a really, really high level. I really think he could do so much for this Bengals young DB room as a veteran presence, and I think he makes them better immediately. I'm totally all in, going after a guy like Stephon Gilmore. Asante Samuel, next up here on this list. Asante Samuel was really highly regarded when he came out a few years ago of the NFL draft. I would think a lot of people view him as the best corner still available on the market. And, of course, he most recently played with the Los Angeles Chargers. Or there's some arm length concerns, sure, but I think he can run around. I think he can guard some of the best receivers in the National Football League. I'm really high on Asante Samuel Jr. as well. I'm sure a lot of other teams are additionally. Next up, Jeff Okudah, kind of a curious guy here. He was the 3rd overall pick out of Ohio State only a couple of years ago. And things really haven't gone well for him here in the NFL. Was drafted by Detroit. Certainly has been plagued by injuries, but you could take a flyer on a guy that was once the 3rd overall pick in the draft. And he played great in college and hasn't worked out for him in the NFL to this point. But if you can get him for a decent price, I think you should be interested in a guy like Jeff Okudah. Rasul Douglas. Spent some time with Green Bay, of course. Most people probably remember him from Green Bay before most recently playing with the Buffalo Bills. A real feisty guy. I think he would fit in nicely in the AFC North. Again, builds that veteran presence that the Bengals, in my opinion, desperately need defensively. Another opportunity for you guys to get involved with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. Do the Bengals need to add a corner before the draft? Honestly, it doesn't feel like they're going to, which, in my opinion, is a massive, massive mistake. But let me know. Do the Bengals need to add a corner before the draft? Type Y for yes or N for no. Let's get to some miscellaneous names here now to close out today's show. Justin Simmons at that safety spot. I would love to get our hands on Justin Simmons if we are the Cincinnati Bengals. It feels like they're going to run it back with Geno Stone and Jordan Battle, which I, too, think that is a mistake. Really pleased with what we saw from Battle to end the season, but Geno Stone appears to be a whiff, and it seems like the Bengals want to run it back with him in 2025. Defensive tackle here, Calais Campbell. This guy is just an ageless wonder. He continues to go out there and play football at a really, really high level. He is an incredible locker room guy and a great leader, great in the community. So many teams should be interested in Calais Campbell. No reason why Cincinnati shouldn't be, even after some of the additions that they have made along their interior defensive line. Jedrick Wills Jr. here out of Alabama, playing with Cleveland over the past couple of years. Got hurt. Only played 245 snaps in 2024. I think that's why he hasn't reached an agreement with the team. You feel good about your starting tackles, so Jedrick Wills probably not a guy you're going to go after. He's probably looking for a starter role, not a backup role. I think same could be said here for Tyron Smith as well. Is he at the stage of his career where he wants to be a backup? Probably not. He, of course, started for New York last season. And, just another guy that would certainly help give you depth along your offensive line. But it's pretty clear that you have your 2 starters at tackle with Amarius Mims and Orlando Brown Jr. Cooper Kupp, we've talked about him a lot here on Bengals Breakdown, a video that went out a couple of days ago. I kind of hammered it home again. I am interested in Cooper Kupp. Apparently a report came out he wants to stay close to the West Coast. Obviously, that would eliminate Cincinnati. I think the intrigue of playing with Joe Burrow and 2 elite receivers in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase could perhaps lure Cooper Kupp to Cincinnati. I am all in on Cooper Kupp, despite the fact that this offense is already so good. I think Cooper Kupp can make them virtually unstoppable. An old friend, Tyler Boyd, had to throw him here on this list. Of course, he spent, I believe, the first, 8 years of his career with the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know if that number is exactly correct, something like that. Signed a 1-year deal with Tennessee, hanging out with Brian Callahan last year. He is still unsigned at this point. Bengals could use a receiver. That'd be kind of funny to get Tyler Boyd back. You're already bringing P. Ryan back. Might as well bring the whole crew back in Tyler Boyd, but another name to monitor on this list. Tyler Lockett, I still think he has a lot to give in this league. What a career he has carved out for himself with the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, he's not the same player he once was, but I don't think a veteran in this room would be a bad idea for the Cincinnati Bengals. Tyler Lockett, also a world champion as well. Amari Cooper, next up on this list. Amari Cooper's bounced around a little bit recently with Cleveland and finishing the season with Buffalo. I think Amari Cooper is an outstanding wide receiver. I think he's a great professional where there's some drop issues that were kind of weird, sure. But if you're looking to add a receiver, I think Amari Cooper's a nice veteran that could fit into your room as well. Keenan Allen, for the longest time, I called him the most underrated receiver in the National Football League. I still kind of feel that way. Didn't do a ton, but then again, he was in Chicago with a rookie quarterback. I'm very interested to see what happens with Keenan Allen. He's kind of in that Cooper Kupp category for me. If you put him on this team, shoot, you might just be unstoppable. Do not miss out on any Cincinnati Bengals news if they make a significant signing. We, of course, will have a video for you guys as we have for all the signings they have made to this point. So don't miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV.